In today's video, I have a very special guide for you guys. We're going to be touching on high sensitivity for console players, telling you guys everything you need to know, all the ups and downs, including movement, aim, centering, as well as awareness. And I'm also going to be talking to you guys about some myth-busting things I want to actually address on the channel, because I've been hearing a lot of comments in my comment section telling me that there are certain things in the game that, make it worse or give you a bigger disadvantage, which I'm gonna tell you guys right now, it's a lot of those things that aren't true, and I want to just touch up on those at the end of the video, so make sure you guys watch the video all the way through. But with that being said, if there's any other guides or tips that you guys want to see on the channel, make sure you guys go comment them in the comment section below, and make sure you guys drop a like on the video, subscribe if you guys do enjoy the content and you guys learn something new. But with that being said, let's go straight into the first tip. Here we are on console. If you guys don't believe I'm actually on console, I'm going to show you guys my screen real quick, but this is my sensitivity that I'm using. I'm using Insane 2020 with 2 ADS. I don't want to hear anybody saying that it's impossible to play on high sense on console, because I'm playing on one of the highest sensitivities back in the day before they actually increased the amount that you can actually go. And as you guys can see here, I am on PlayStation. So with that being said, the first thing I want to talk about in today's video is just centering. Centering is very important, especially if you're playing on a high sensitivity, and centering is probably one of the most brutal things about playing on high sensitivity. If you guys don't have good centering, you're going to be a very bad player, or not necessarily very bad, but you're going to be missing a lot of shots. You're going to be losing a lot of gunfights because you're just simply not prepared for your gunfights. If you guys don't know what centering is, I've actually touched up on this topic a lot on my channel, but basically the little white crosshair that you have on your screen, you want to keep that in front of, where you're expecting someone to be at. So for example, you guys are going to see it's going to be a little bit fast for me because I am on a high sensitivity, like I said, but if you guys watch closely, you guys are going to see that my crosshair is basically ready for every single gunfight, and most of the time I'm going to win those gunfights. Now if I don't have ammo on my gun, or if the enemy just lands more shots somehow or has better centering, or just gets lucky, then there's a good chance that they're going to win the fight, but it makes the chances a lot less likely that you're going to lose if you have good centering. Now you guys are watching gameplay right now. It's very fast. This is a lot going on the screen right now because of how fast I'm moving. I have multiple things going on, but if you guys watch closely, like I said, the centering is definitely in effect. So now that you guys know what centering is, how can you improve your centering? Well, there's a couple of ways you can touch up on this. The first thing I want to say right now, and this goes for everything on the video, but practice makes perfect, guys. I'm sure you guys have probably heard this before. You're going to have to practice these things if you want to get better. I'm not going to just tell you something in this video and you're going to just magically hop in the game and become an absolute demon. That's not how it works. That is not how it works in any game. You literally have to practice. Now, I'm not saying you have to practice a lot, because I'll be honest with you guys do not. You don't have to practice that much. You probably say maybe 30 minutes to an hour of practicing these tips will probably get you where you want to be in about 2 weeks, which is really fast. You can be like a completely different player in 2 weeks with just a decent amount of practice. The most important part is just being repetitive. You don't want to practice one day and then skip 3 days and then practice again, because you're not really gaining any ground, you're not really gaining any progress. You want to practice as frequent as you can. If you can play every day, then practice every day. If not, then try to practice at however often possible you can. But when it comes to centering, practice is like the #1 key to that. For a lot of things like movement, aim, and also awareness, just practicing those things in the game will get you a lot better. But for those of you guys who are wondering how I'm actually controlling this sensitivity so well and not over peaking or looking super choppy, the biggest reason why I'm able to do that is because I just practice. It's not really anything special. Now, if you guys are trying to win more long-range gunfights, gunfights that are 150, 200 meters away, then I do recommend you guys can get a control freak. I actually do use a red Inferno control freak on my right joystick, and it doesn't really help with movement that much or aim that much, but when it gets to those long-range gunfights, you definitely start to see a strong suit. You're gonna miss a lot less bullets, and you're gonna have overall just more control. So I feel like using a control freak is really good for high sense players, but it's not mandatory, and you guys can still be an absolute demon with that one, but it is useful to have. If you guys do want it, you guys can get it. Alright guys, now with centering out the way, we're going to go over to movement. This is not necessarily a movement guide, because I have made videos like this in the past, but I'll probably make another movement guide in the future just to update everyone on some new movement mechanics. But movement is obviously really important on 2020 Sens as well, and the best way you guys can get better at that is once again practice. Now I have a couple of videos that have a guide for all the advanced and beginner things. I'll put these on the screen right now and put a link in the description for those of you that want those. They are a little bit outdated. There's a couple of more moves that are in the game right now that I want to go over, so you guys can expect a movement guide in the future, but that has a lot of the basic and fundamental movement, structures in the game that will help you guys get much better. You guys are going to see I'm able to slide cancel while aiming, while jumping. You guys are going to see bunny hops. I just did a bunny hop right there. But you guys are going to see a lot of movement mechanics in the game, like all just watching my gameplay, especially in these bot lobbies, because there's a lot going on. There's multiple enemies, and I'm not going to lie, being a high sensitivity player really helps in those multiple engagement gunfights. That's one thing I can definitely say, versus playing on low sense, that playing on low sense makes you a little bit more vulnerable in those multiple engagement gunfights. Now, it does make you a lot more accurate. So if you are just fighting one person, you're going to basically beam them because you're not going to, over peak or anything like that. But if you are, fighting multiple people, being able to turn around super fast is obviously going to help you in that gunfight versus, turn around super slow. So movement is a big mechanic. And like I said, I have movement guides on this. If you guys really want to check that out, then make sure you guys go drop those videos a peep, because we touch up on a lot of things in those videos. Alright guys, now moving on to the last part, which I would say is probably the hardest part, and I get the most comments about this one. But most people are like, hey DuPeR, how are you able to control your recoil in so good with this sensitivity? And I'll tell you guys right now, I personally don't know. I will get on the game and I will just start missing a ton of shots, but after playing for a while and getting warmed up, eventually your muscle memory is going to get used to the recoil pattern on most of the guns you're using, and you're just gonna stop missing. So once again, that goes under the practice makes perfect thing. Like I said, I do use a control freak, but it doesn't really help that much with the close range gunfights. You're not going to really miss shots regardless of whether you're using the control freak or not. And I did actually take off my control freak about a week ago just to see if I was playing on the same level, and I actually do. So it didn't really make that much of a difference afterwards. But if you guys are trying to improve your aim like straight off, or if you guys are new to the game, then the control freak would definitely be useful. When it comes to long range aim, a lot of people say that you cannot have good aim at long range with high sensitivity, and that's just cap, guys. That's cap. I'm living proof of that, because you guys are going to see in other clips of videos that I'm beaming people from 200, 250, 300 plus meters with ARs, and I'm just playing on the sensitivity. It's just insanely crazy for me to hear that people are saying that you cannot, have good accuracy on high sensitivity. That is completely false. Now, I will say it will take more time to have better accuracy on 2020 because, it's a faster sense. It takes time to get used to, but it is definitely possible to get really good at long range fights on 2020. I don't want to hear anybody saying otherwise. Yes, it's harder, but it's not possible. So that's my take on that, and that's basically all I have to touch up on when it comes to the 3 best mechanics for getting better. Now, I did talk about awareness, and I want to actually break awareness down in a different video because there's a lot that goes into that. If you guys didn't actually notice, or I'm sure you guys probably didn't know, but this entire gameplay you guys are watching, I have no headphones on. So if you guys see I'm looking around really fast, it's because I'm being super aware, and awareness is key in this game. And you guys know this game actually has bad audio sometimes, and awareness is key for games like this, especially battle royales. So if you guys do want to see an awareness guide in the future, make sure you guys go comment that in the comment section below, because I would love to actually touch upon that in the future video. Alright guys, now for my absolute favorite part. I'm looking forward to this part of the video. We're going to be myth busting, okay? I'm going to just be touching about everything that everyone wants to talk about when it comes to console versus PC. Starting off with FOV. This is the big one. Obviously everyone doesn't like FOV. The FOV advantage with 120 versus 80, and I'm telling you guys right now, that does not really matter that much. Yes, 120 FOV is much better, and you can see more than 80 FOV, but it's not going to make you a distinctively better player. As you guys can see, there are a lot of console demons YouTubers. I know people like Mobean, KirkZoo, other people on the on the console community that I have insane movement without FOV. So it doesn't mean you're necessarily gonna be a much better player with 120. I will say the experience is much better and much more fluid, but you don't need it in order to be a good player. So you don't have to go buy a $1,500 PC just to be half decent at Warzone. I know a lot of people in the COD community think that this is true and that you do need to invest into a much better platform in order to play at a better level. No, I would never want to play Warzone knowing that I have to get a PC or whatever just to play good. That will kind of ruin the fun. It will just make it to where, oh, you're just as good as your PC is, and I don't want to think that. The fact that we're able to play really high level on console means that that's obviously not true. But if you guys do have a PC and you do play 120 FOV, then good for you guys. Like I said, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I just want to let you guys know that you don't need 120 just to play good. And I have broken multiple world records on console. On a PS4, PlayStation 4, not a PS5, not Xbox One, nothing like that. I played on a PS4 and I was able to break records multiple times in Warzone. So you guys don't need a PC just to play on a really, really high level. But I will say right now, it is definitely harder for 80 FOV players to compete at the level of PC players because of the FOV disadvantage. We're going to get thrown off camera a lot. We're going to get, our camera broken. We're also not going to be able to see certain enemies from a certain range. So those things, yes, those things do suck, and there's not much you can do about that. But it doesn't mean you can't be a really good player. On to the second myth bust I want to talk about is latency. Latency, I've heard a lot of people talk about this. They're saying that PC players have way, faster latency than, console players. And I'm not exactly sure what people are talking about with this, whether it's, controller latency or monitor latency. But I'm going to just touch up on both of these just to, try to strike all heads. But the biggest thing I want to talk about is controller latency. In my recent videos, I actually made a, PC comparison. I was playing on PC with 80 FOV and, 60 FPS and everything like that. And I basically matched all of my hardware and all of my performance settings to a PS4. And a lot of people were in the conversation were saying that, one thing you don't consider is input delay. And input delay just basically means how fast your controller responds to your PS4 or how fast your monitor responds to your PS4, which means basically how fast you're going to see what's going on your screen via your movement. Now, this obviously depends on whether you're talking about monitor or controller, but let's just talk about the controller and talk about input delay on a controller. Basically, that's not true. The difference in the input delay between console and PC is existent. There is a difference, but it is so minuscule you can hardly even tell it exists. We're talking halves of milliseconds. This is not anything that's going to give you a disadvantage against PC players. And I can actually vouch right now because in this gameplay, I have felt no difference of input delay between PC and console. And I'm being completely brutally honest. There is nothing that's going to make it different. Now, I will say right now, if you guys are using an aftermarket controller, I can definitely vouch for this because I did buy an aftermarket controller before and the input delay on that is horrific. So if you guys are using controllers that are not actually by Sony, then there could be a chance that you're going to get a lot of input delay. And one thing I want to touch up on is that input delay, like I said, is two factors. It's not just controller, it's also monitor. So if you guys have if you guys playing on a TV with 9 milliseconds, then there's a good chance that can be why the game is not responding. And it may look like, oh, PC players respond faster. No, they don't. Most PC players have monitors. Whenever you ever seen a PC player play on a TV, you don't. They're all on monitors. That's why it feels like there's a lot more input delay. There actually isn't much input delay on versus console and PC. It's basically the same. It's just that most PC players play on monitors and most console players play on TVs, which is why it feels like such a big difference. So if you guys do get a monitor, then you're basically on the exact same level as a PC player. Now, I'm not saying it's necessary. You guys can still frag out on TVs or, smaller displays. But if you guys are trying to, up your game and increase your chances of winning, then getting a monitor might be, beneficial for you. But that right there is a huge topic that I really want to touch upon. A lot of people think that, console players just have way more latency, which is true, but it's not because you're on console. It's because you're just using a TV versus a monitor. I have a BenQ monitor and it has 1 millisecond response time, and I feel the exact same when I play on PC. There is no difference, and I just want to touch up on that to kind of break that myth that people think that there's a much bigger difference between input delay versus PC. All right, now the last myth I want to touch up before I actually end today's video has to do with the FOV visual recoil. This is a huge one. And I just want to touch upon this a little bit to help, further explain it, because I'm not necessarily disproving it or saying that it doesn't exist, but I just want to give you guys a little bit more information on it, because a lot of people just walk away with, oh, PC players have better recoil, and that's it. They don't really understand the full, aspect of that situation. So basically, when it comes to FOV on console versus PC, and when it comes to recoil, yes, if you do play 120 FOV and you have affected on, then it will look like you have way less recoil with just about every freaking gun in the game. Now, that is all visual. That is all visual. That is not the case. Like, that's not actually the case. That is all just completely visual. If you guys do have good recoil control on PC and you switch to console with 80 FOV, you're still going to be beaming because you have already, got the muscle memory to control the gun. And same for, console. Now, like if you're shooting someone, it may look like you're missing, but you're actually not missing, but it has a lot of bounce because the gun just is a bouncy gun. I'm using actually some rather, bouncy guns right now. The MP5, I don't have the best recoil attachment, on it, so I am having a bit of bounce, but you guys are gonna see I'm still able to shoot straight because I just have the muscle memory down. So yes, there is more visual recoil on 80 FOV. That is a known fact, and I can agree with that, but it's not too bad to the point to where like you can't shoot with certain guns. Now, there are a couple of guns in the game, I'm not gonna lie, that I would say are almost unusable on console FOV, but they're usable on PC. And don't get me wrong, these guns are still very, very bad on PC too, but it's just enough to make it to where you can actually use it. And these go for a lot of LMGs, you know, that were first released, like the MG42 when Vanguard dropped. That gun had a lot of recoil on console, and when I saw people on PC use it, it looked like it had way, way less. They were actually able to get kills with it while I was like really, really struggling. So yes, there is definitely a disadvantage when it comes to recoil balance, like the visual recoil, but when it comes to actual recoil, no, there actually is no disadvantage. You guys still have the same recoil that console or PC players have. If a PC player wasn't, spectate you and they were watching you shoot someone, it would look like you have no recoil. Trust me, if you guys are shooting at someone and someone was spectating you with 120 FOV, you would look like you're aimbotting people just as they would if they were playing the game. So that's just the last thing I want to touch up on. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys actually think about these myth busts. If you guys think they're wrong, if you guys think they're right, or if they make sense. I'm actually curious to know, but these are all things that I have done research on. I have sources, incredible websites to actually back up these statements, so I'm not just saying things out of the blue. These actually are kind of real, you know what I'm saying? I'm not just making up stuff. But with that being said, that's basically all I have for today's video. If you guys did enjoy the video at all, drop a like, subscribe if you guys haven't already, and post notifications. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace, love, and understanding always.